Hey all, this is just a quick little video to kind of show off some of the editors and some of the new progress I've been making in Neut Tower and Honeylisp. So first of all, um, yeah, wanted to show off again. I realized I don't have any videos showing off the map editor, so this is the map editor. Here's our map, kind of the first level of Neut Tower. You see I can, select a tile and then kind of paste in more tiles or whatever. That all works kind of as you'd expect. One thing I recently added was this will now actually handle artifacting colors between tile boundaries. Before, this is showing, if you see here, it's kind of got this black stripe to the right, which you can see like if I go to the tile editor, you can see like sky, it ends with a black pixel. So if there was another black pixel next to that, it would be black. But because there's a white pixel next to it, it turns blue. And if I like put something like that next to it, you can see it stops right at the white line here. Rather than if I had something white there, there's a blue pixel. So that was kind of fun. But, ultimately, it was not a huge deal to have that kind of weird artifacting, weird artifacts in the map editor. But it was kind of a side effect of some other work that I did that I'm going to get to. Yeah, the other kind of really neat thing that we have is the object editor, which is not hooked up to anything in-game yet. I think that's the next thing I'm going to end up tackling. But obviously there are things in the room that you will be able to interact with because it's a game. And I have kind of this concept of, you click on a thing and then here's the word, which is kind of the fourth concept of like, here's what code you should run when you bump into this thing or when you interact with this thing. And it also has the concept of linking, so I can drag this and say, oh, this switch is connected to this door, or maybe it's connected to that door. And I can just kind of drag that around and do that, which is really, I think it's going to be really nice to kind of quickly put together levels and stuff. Was something that was a pain in my workflow when I was making Neut Tower for DOS, in that I'd have to like have a piece of paper and like jot down, okay, these coordinates, that's this kind of object, and it's going to link to this other object, and I have to give them names, and they can be totally anonymous now. I can just like link them, and then I have this concept of a link word, which some of the more complicated puzzles in Neut Tower aren't necessarily, you don't necessarily have a one-to-one. This thing is always linked to that other thing, so it's nice for that to be more flexible if we need it. But yeah, and I can just select whatever, and like if I have kind of custom behavior, you can see like this terminal has like a tutorial, Jay says something when you interact with it, and so just give it a custom word, and then I can go in and add the extra code for that later. So yeah, so the other thing that I added to the game, which maybe I'll show off running first, and then I can kind of show off the editors. So let's, don't want to look at me. Let's boot up main. Oop, it's already loaded. How nice. I didn't mean to do that. So if I can just eval the hello world here. Here's Jay saying that was an earthquake. Golly gee, Jay, you're right. What are we going to do? We must not panic. So yeah, I have dialogue working, and that was a fair amount of effort to make that all work. So for one, I needed to draw some portraits, so now Honeylisp has a portrait editor. So this is kind of like a, 32 by 32 pixel, kind of 4 2 by 2 tile blocks. So and this is kind of why I needed to do that. Generalize the color generation code to handle longer strings of tiles and stuff. So yeah, I ended up doing that, and I'm quite happy with how that turned out. I can mess with colors or whatever else, and obviously it's just a bigger editor. And so when I did that, I kind of abstracted out the tile editor. So the portrait editing code is actually quite small. It's like less than 30 lines of code. It's just kind of like, okay, well, here's how to turn a portrait, called portrait to sprite when I'm converting it for the preview. It's saved to a different file name. Like, here's how you map, each pixel that we're drawing to a bit and byte in kind of the output. And yeah, and each one obviously has like a label that you can use to refer to it from code. And then I also have, so the fun thing about the Apple II is that unlike, say, the PC, it doesn't expose the font that it uses for text drawing to the CPU. It's just a ROM that's connected only to the video generation hardware. You cannot access that font at all. So I wrote a font editor. And again, this is even smaller than the portrait editor. It's less than 20 lines of code. It's just, just the simplest, silliest thing. Edit an 8x8 thing. Mapping X and Y coordinates to bits and bytes is really, really trivial. And then, yeah, the only other thing I have is like instead of the flags, I'm drawing just kind of like, here's what character this is. And then I just kind of went through one by one and drew the characters, and yeah, made a little font, 64 characters in the end. And yeah, I'm really happy with kind of how that turned out. Yeah, this was like a few hours work. It was really not a big pain in the butt at all. So kind of the whole thing, working into the editor kind of paying for itself. Oh, and then you can just see really quick here the hello world. You can see the code for like actually doing that dialogue is really straightforward. I'm able to kind of use the Fennel code to generate compact virtual machine code that just means I can very kind of naturalistically write dialogue, and kind of any interesting animations or whatever like that. Like that's going to also be pretty straightforward to do. So I'm really happy with how this is coming along. So yeah, I think that's really it. I got a lot done this week. I got a lot done this weekend especially, so I'm really happy with how it's progressing. So thanks for watching, and I'll be back with another video showing off some more stuff, hopefully pretty soon.